Welcome back. In today's episode, we speak with Robyn Benincasa. She's a world-class adventure racer. She participated several weeks ago in the Missouri River 340. It's a 340-mile race down the Missouri River. She did it in a kayak. She did it with a broken leg. She came in first in the women's division and third overall against the men in the solo division. How does she accomplish these feats? What is her psychology, and how can you apply these to your life and your business? Stay tuned.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. Robyn Benincasa is a 2004 CNN hero, a world champion adventure racer, a San Diego Firefighter, and a 10-time Ironman Triathlete. She's also the proud owner of 2 bionic hips. Inspired by her good friend and breast cancer survivor, Louise Cooper, Robyn started the Project Athena Foundation to help survivors of medical or traumatic setbacks discover how amazing and strong they actually are. She does this by having them complete an adventurous dream that they never thought possible. As Robyn says, it's not about the setback, it's all about the comeback. She is also a New York Times Bestselling author, How Winning Works. For the last 10 years, she has shared her extreme teamwork message with over 600 companies, from Starbucks, Boeing, Johnson & Johnson, Microsoft, just to mention a few. Robyn also accepts full responsibility and blame for inspiring people to do such insane things as crossing the Grand Canyon, rim to rim to rim, to run their first triathlon, to start their own business, or even kayak 100 miles from Key Largo to Key West. Robyn inspires people to grab life with one hand, grab their teammates with the other, and to create that special magic that allows each one of us to become better and stronger together than we would alone. Please welcome Robyn. Robyn, welcome to the show. What an incredible bio.
You're so nice.
Well,
thank you. I'm glad to be here.
You got to start us off with this situation. You broke your femur and you had a race last week. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oi. Oy vey, booby. Well, I'd been training for this race for a long time. It's kind of a big birthday for me this year. And I said, you know what? I just want to see if the old lady still got some badass in there. And, you know, I'm so tired of when people are at, well, when was your last race? When was your last race? And I'm like, oh, you know, a few years ago. And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing a freaking race this year. I'm doing a big one, and it's going to be like the gnarliest paddling race there is. And that's the Missouri River 340. So it's a 340-mile nonstop paddling race from Kansas City to St. Charles. I mean, you can stop if you want, but, you know, the winners don't really. Like, you paddle the whole thing all the way through. And so I'd been training for months, you know, probably really hard for about 5 months. And you know, inside the fire station on my dryland trainer, and then doing long paddles on my days off. And the week before it, I happened to have a long story short bike crash, which I'd never have. I've never crashed my bike in 25 years of racing, and cracked my femur. And I've already got 2 total hip replacements in there. So I don't know whether it saved me or hurt me that I had the metal in there, but it actually, like, you know, my femur had kind of a big chunk out of it fracture. And I thought I wasn't going to be able to do the 340. And, you know, after a couple days of seeing if I could sit upright and, you know, seeing if I could still paddle, and then all of a sudden I started going, what if I could stuff this big fat cracked femur leg into my boat and paddle anyway. I was like, there's nothing wrong with my upper body. What if I could just stuff my leg in there and do the race anyway? And what if became, holy crap, I'm doing this. And I didn't actually know if I was going to do it till the day before the race, because my boat had shipped 2 weeks earlier. So I hadn't even seen my boat until literally the day before the start. And I stuffed my leg into it.
And it fit.
and it fit. It was like Cinderella. So yeah, next day I crutched down to the start and got myself in the boat. Went and hauled some butt. I felt like I was kind of a walrus that became a mermaid all of a sudden. Just went into my boat and I'm like, I'm free. I can paddle. So yeah, big paddling race. I did it. I kicked butt. I was super happy with my race. Recovering now, but I'm just so glad I did it. And, I wanted to just do it and finish it. And I ended up doing way better than I ever dreamed.
So what do you do for all the participants that came in after you and see you get out on crutches? Is there some sort of coaching program that you give them to help them through their misery of being beat by the girl with the broken leg?
Everyone in that race is so cool. I mean, it's just so many nice people, and it was pretty funny. Afterwards there were a bunch of women that came up to me later and said, I told my husband, or I told my boyfriend or my brother, like, dude, you got your ass kicked by a girl with a broken leg. I'm like, oh, way to rub it in. So, but no, it's cool. It's cool to, at my age, still be, on the podium with the guys in a big race like that was a thrill, So kind of, it's been 26 years of outdoor competition, and then another 14, before that. So it was just kind of, not necessarily the end of my racing career, but it was neat to, kind of put a big bow on, wow, I still got it. And that was really, really fun for me.
Well, that's incredible. Knowing how I know you, I don't know you that well, but we've had an opportunity to meet. I've heard you speak several times. I think you would have cut a hole in that boat to actually fit your leg in it. Doesn't seem like anything stops you. What is the psychology? What are the beliefs around who you are when it comes to competition?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's something that you're born with or something you develop. I mean, in my case, from a really young age, I was a gymnast for my first sport, and you know how hardcore those little girls and boys can be, where you're training 5 hours a day, 7 days a week, and getting your homework done, and and when you love your coach and you're so excited about your accomplishments, and you really feel like you're getting so much done in a day. It's kind of a rush, and that kind of just moved into my adult life from sport to sport. But really the thing for me is, as I'm going through something and it's getting ugly and it's getting painful and it's getting, I keep telling myself, this is temporary. This is temporary. Crossing this finish line. Having that sense of accomplishment, doing what you came to do, inspiring and amazing yourself lasts forever. And, these wounds are going to heal, these scars are going to heal, this pain is going to heal. But you will have whatever you accomplish today, this week, whatever it is, on your life resume for the rest of your life. And that really motivates me, is to have another brick in my character wall, to kind of, and it's not about beating anybody, in my case, not about being necessarily better than anybody. It's just about saying, what, I trained for something, I put my head down, I accomplished it. I'm so proud of myself. And in my case now, it's something that I love to give to other people as well, is that the petri dish to amaze and inspire yourself. And so now that I've done it for so many years, the best thing in the world is that gift of showing other people what they're capable of, and that's what really inspires me now. Yes,
I agree with that. I don't think there's anything else that inspires me more than just that. Yeah, how can I help others? Tell us about some of the things you've learned from your teammates. You're all about teamwork. In the middle of a race, when things are getting ugly, they're getting tough. What's some of the best advice you've heard by your teammates? Give us some insights.
My biggest sport in my life, I suppose, where I'd had the most success, is in a sport called adventure racing. And it's not around a ton right now. Mark Burnett was the guy who started it in the U.S., and he's the guy who started Survivor and every other crazy show on earth now. But it's a race where you go 7 to 10 days nonstop, kayaking, mountain biking, whitewater rafting, mountaineering, all non-motorized transportation, and the clock never stops. So you sleep only, when you dare or when you can't keep moving. And, so there's a lot of strategy and tactics involved in your navigation, your sleep strategy, but most importantly, your teamwork. And what we learned in these races, at first everyone just tried to put the very best peak performers, the top athletes in all the different sports, tried to smash them onto a team together. And what we discovered early on was that they would be pretty successful, but if those individual superstars didn't embrace the fact that they had to leave their egos at the start line. And, because it's the heaviest thing in your pack, which is probably the best advice I've ever gotten, is you can't bring your ego on the race with you, because there is no place for that here. It is too heavy for anybody to carry. And, the teams that really learned to, consistently capitalize on each other's strengths and literally tow each other, figuratively and literally tow each other when things got tough. When one of us would be struggling, somebody else would take our pack, or we'd give our pack, willingly. A lot of the other teams like, oh, no one's taking my pack, and they would just completely slow the team down. But what we discovered really worked as we, kind of unraveled the key to the sport was that it was really all about constantly caring for one another almost as much as you cared about yourself. And when you lived in that world where you gave weight, you took weight, you gave a tow line, you grabbed a tow line, you when someone was struggling, you went back and talked to them or sang with them or fed them, or made sure all your teammates had their nutrition, make sure they all had enough sleep. When you live in that world where everyone is genuinely looking out for one another and there's no egos involved, it's unbelievable what you can accomplish. And so that's what I love to share with people now, especially, in the corporate world, because in a lot of cases, all of us feel like, well, we have to stand out. We have to do this alone. We have to, be the person that stands tall so we can get recognized and noticed. And it's pretty pervasive in the corporate world. And what I try to do is come in and say, yes, all of that. That is all a given. You've been a rock star, you've been a superstar your whole life. But what if you were surrounded by these other great superstars and you created this incredible synergy together, where everyone left their ego at the front door and you genuinely, capitalized on each other's strengths and towed each other in the tough times. And if you had that team around you, can you imagine, the fact that there would never be a finish line that's too far away, and what you could accomplish when no one really cares who gets the credit. But in essence, all of you do, when you have the incredible results that you're going to have when you embrace synergy.
Is there a business leader that sticks out in your mind that says, they've really developed a very interesting culture or leadership team?
So many over the years. I've had, I'm trying to think of some clients that particularly stand out in that department. I just recently worked with Hormel. They've got an incredible corporate culture. Starbucks, obviously. It was all about exceptional experiences, for the customers, and creating that team that you were just all completely, customer focused, but also, really being a team, behind that counter or on the, on the management side. Probably 3 out of 10 or so of the, events I go to, I walk away going, man, I would love to have worked for that company. Just the energy that they have and the positive spirit they have and the teamwork that they have and this family that they have. Is a very, very cool thing. And that's all culture. Well,
they were smart. They brought you in.
Yeah. And in those cases, I'm just kind of reinforcing, what they already know. And that part's really, really fun. Is where I'm not like brought in to like be the fixer, but
right.
brought in to, just remind these people why they're so amazing and why this company rocks. That's really, the best part for me is everyone's just nodding and smiling, going, yep, that's us. And we're going to do more of it.
What's some of the worst advice you've ever received in adventure racing?
Some of the worst advice that I've ever gotten, and mostly, God bless my family's heart because they worry about me, was don't go. I had so many times where people were like, don't go, don't do it. What are you thinking? Don't do this, don't go. And, every time I've gone, I've either had an amazing experience or learned something that helped me have an amazing experience on the next one. But there's never been a time where don't go has been great advice, because I mean, no matter what you encounter out there, in a lot of ways, when you don't succeed at something, you learn something that you would not have learned if you stayed home.
Yes.
And so every time you toe the line, whether it's in a competition or asking for a promotion or whatever, you are trying to perform at your best in your life, toe the line, get into the game with the best of the best and see what you got. And a lot of times you surprise yourself. You got more than you ever imagined. And a lot of times you say, you know what, I wasn't nearly ready for this at all, but I watched the other people. I watched what they did or how they did this. And there's something I can learn from that. And so it's never a negative to get in the game.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think, oh, I can't, I'm not ready. I can't possibly, I don't. Yes. And obviously you should always show up prepared. That's a given.
Yeah.
But, it's, I don't know, for me, it's never an option to quote unquote, stay home. If
you have a broken leg,
I can get to the start line. Well, even then, maybe what I would have learned is that, that wasn't a good idea, but there might've been something I learned about like making my stroke better.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I didn't have my legs to push from, which is what
I support you 100% on that. It's like, just do it. Just show up and see what happens. I'm getting ready to go and spend a couple days or 5 days this fall with Mark Devine of Seal Fit. And the program starts off with a 45-minute plank. I have no idea how I'm going to get 45 minutes in, but it doesn't matter. I know I'm going to bleed. I am going to be sore. I am going to be miserable. But I know when I'm done with that, I'm going to be a different man coming out the other side.
Yep. And you're going to know what you're capable of.
Exactly.
And then wonder what else.
Exactly. And it's so funny, so many people say they want to be a stronger father, a husband, a business leader, but yet they don't like the adversity. And that's how we grow. Mm-hmm. So
that's the only way, really.
Yeah.
That's the only way you get that, the shot of life growth hormone is to get in there and, get a little bloody, get a little scared, get a little uncomfortable, get a lot uncomfortable. Wonder why in the world you ever made this decision. It's not that everyone just gets in the game like, I'm having a fantastic time. I'm kicking butt. I'm taking names. I'm the winner. No one's that's never happened.
Especially if you're playing big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to win something. You're gonna bleed. You're gonna
get
struggle.
bloody.
You're gonna throw up. You're gonna fall down. You're gonna so many things, and you have to be. And I understand that if people aren't willing to do that. I think we're raising kids also nowadays to try to avoid all the pain. Let me just get out in front of you, just make sure everything's fine. And I think we're raising a generation that's used to having everything done for them. Yeah, and I think in the long run, that's. I think the best gift we can give other people is showing them what they're capable of and making them stronger, and making them more confident, and making them understand that. Yeah, this sucks. Yeah, this is a roller coaster. Yeah, this is a setback. But you, within you, have the power, and you have everything within you right now that you need to succeed, not because you believe it. That's crap. But believing in yourself is crap. Yeah. You got to back it up with actually having done something to make yourself believe that. And it's the thing. It's the doing of the thing that leads to the confidence. Not just, Disneyland. I believe in myself. I'm a princess. I'm a warrior. I'm a this. I'm a that. No, you're not. You haven't earned that. You have to go out and you have to earn that with your blood, your sweat, your tears. You're getting into the arena every single day. And when you have earned that, it is the best feeling in the world, because you go through life with that confidence of saying, having done the 40 plus big expedition races I've done, and the crazy situations I've been in at 20,000 feet with no oxygen, and day 4 of a race with no sleep and 104 fever and a septic infection, and, one of my toes nearly coming off from frostbite, all these things that you have in your arsenal of experiences, it makes everyday life, it's like, it was hot out yesterday. And I remember laughing going, yeah, but I was in the desert in 130 degrees in the X Games in a dry riverbed in Mexico where my water was nearly boiling. I couldn't even drink it. It was so hot and people were passing out left and right. And my teammates survived. And I think 90 I'm going to be just fine.
Exactly.
Walking to my house, I mean, every situation in your life, you can say to yourself, you know what, this is nothing because I've done so much more, or this setback is nothing, or this challenge is nothing, because you've earned, the right within your mind and your soul to say, I got this.
Yeah. People ask me all the time, say, what do you do? Aren't you a business coach? I said, no, I'm not a business coach. I'm a business mentor. And the reason is that I'm a business owner. And that's what I've done. I've been in that seat. I know what it's like to come to Friday and not have payroll. I know what it's like to deal with a difficult employee. I know what it's like to have employees who steal from you. So I'm not talking about theory. I've been there.
Absolutely.
So, big
and that's
difference.
Why it's authentic. Yeah.
Hey, talking about decisions. Tell us about a time where you've had to make a decision and you really didn't have enough data to know which way to go, left, right, behind, straightforward. How did you come to that decision-making process and choose a path?
Endless series of, okay. So one point where, well, actually it was in the same race, the eco challenge that we won. We had a few really tough, scary decisions that we made that definitely panned out. And it was every race. You kind of get to a point where you don't necessarily know where you are on the map, but you have to decide, do I go up this river valley? Do I go on this ridge line? What's my best way forward? In a lot of cases, you don't know until you have more information. So one thing we discovered is whenever we were stumped, the only answer was keep going until you have more information, enough data to make an educated decision. Because us standing here with our fingers in our noses, asking questions and pointing at the map is just lost us an hour when we could have in 15 minutes gotten to the top of that hill right there, looked around and gotten our answer. So, yes, you have to analyze, but in a lot of cases, you got to move forward to have more data. But in Borneo, in the Eco Challenge, we had an interesting decision that was actually made our race for us. There was a hiking section along this kind of like a rivulet that we were kind of, meant to go down for 6-7 hours to get to the next checkpoint. And, there was a single track next to this little river, and there had been a torrential storm a few hours before we got to this section, and the river was coming up and it was coming up and it was coming up and it was coming up. And one of my teammates got this brainstorm and he said, why are we walking next to the river if we can just get in the river and literally just shoot down this river at, 15, 20 miles an hour? Because it was, it was kind of, a torrentially flooded river, and it was not the brightest decision that we had ever made in our lives. And it was getting dark, and, there we are just bobbing in this river with our headlamps, and you can hear the roar of rapids. And of course, in my mind, they were class 4s. They were probably class 2s, which is, sketchy enough in the dark.
Sure.
With no life jacket on. But we ended up, all of us just kind of swimming from boulder to boulder and trying to not die for several hours. And we ended up putting 2 hours on the closest team behind us by the time we got to the end of that section. And it was, it was a ridiculous risk, and it could have been really, really bad. But it's one of those decisions that you make, like if we're going to win this thing, we have to make some crazy decisions here. And later in that race, we were being chased to the finish line by like the number one team in the world. And, we were only, a few hours early, we were only 10 minutes apart. And on the way in the final paddle, it was a 60-mile paddle to the finish. And we had a crazy headwind heading for the finish line. And so my navigator, we were coming up to this island, and it was about a 5-mile long island going at a 45-degree angle to where we were. And he got a wild hair and he said, you know what, we're not moving. We're barely moving forward in heading straight into this thing. And he took us behind this island, shielded from the wind. And we went, much further distance wise, but we were kind of still moving at a 45-degree angle to the finish. And it was another great decision because whereas our competitors weren't moving, we were at least taking steps to move towards the finish line and be out of the wind and make up some ground. And then, we kind of beelined it, angled it back into the finish line from there. But it's a lot of those kind of out of the box decisions that end up, being the crux of the race. Because a lot of people could move at the same speed on a normal course, and then it's just a who's faster than who. But in any adventure race, which really is a metaphor for life in so many ways, it's you gotta be willing to say, all right, this is freaking nuts right now, but I'm doing this, and if I fail, I'm going to learn something, that's going to make me stronger the next time. But you almost can't win without taking some of those kind of risks.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that take risk and keep moving. 2 keys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Awesome. Every peak performer that has ever lived or will live does one thing extremely well. They know how to take their ideas and execute on them. Ideas and knowledge are not power, but the ability to execute on them, that is real power. If you consider yourself a peak performer and really want to take your game to the next level and truly master the science of execution, I would like to send you some information about our upcoming event, Business Execution Summit. Simply take your phone and text the word BE Summit, one word, to 41411. And I'll send you some additional information on how to master the most important skill you will ever acquire for your life or your business. That concludes part 1 of our interview with Robyn Benincasa. Please stay tuned later this week for part 2. Thank you for listening. If you haven't already done so, please head over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Also, please share this with family, friends, coworkers, or anyone that could benefit from this information. To make it very easy to share these episodes, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode that you want to share, and you can post it to your timeline. You just might be helping one of your friends on Facebook by sharing it on your page. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. The email is info@thorconklin. While at the website, please sign up for our weekly newsletter with additional tricks, tips, tools, and psychology on how to be a peak performer. Remember, these episodes are anywhere between 6 and 35 minutes and are meant to be consumed during dot time doing other things. Until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.